when did you first hear the phrase Tea Party, or is that something that you became attached to later on? Did you have a little group you were formulating here of individuals?
No, it was a true spontaneous eruption is the only way that I could describe it. Of course, I knew the Boston Tea Party from history, or Boston Tea Parties, because there were more than one. But the week that ended February 21st, I believe it was a Sunday, 20th or 21st, 2009, I was working ridiculous hours. I got an email from my son on Sunday. I opened it. Is that I had been working that morning from home, but I've been doing work since 6 in the morning. And I opened up the email, and it was linked to Rick Santelli's rant on CNBC. Rick Santelli's a reporter, covers the Chicago Board.
I used to work on the Chicago Board.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I watched that, and I thought, wow, that's great. So I took a break and looked around and saw Michelle Malkin's site said that there were now a dozen cities that were planning tea parties. So I read about what the tea parties were about, looked at a couple more links, and saw somebody had written a recipe for how to conduct your own tea party. And it was pretty simple. Get a bunch of people with signs, stand in a park, and yell something through a bullhorn. I was like, well, I can do that. And I didn't pay any attention to dates or anything, but this was late February, so I figured St. Patrick's Day is coming up. The St. Louis St. Patrick's Day Parade downtown was March 14th. So what I'll do is I'll call for a St. Louis Tea Party March 14th before the parade. If I'm the only one who goes down there for that, I can say there were 5,000 people who came to my event, right? So that was what I did. I just blogged it. I have a blog called Hennessy's View. And I said, hey, let's go out March 14th and have a tea party before the St. Patrick's Day Parade. Well, to get publicity for this, I emailed Dana Lash. I didn't know. I had never met her. I had emailed her once before to ask a question about, I believe, when she was on the air, because I'd read a story about her online. And that was the only contact I'd ever had with her. But I knew she could get the word out. And I also emailed Jim Hoft, Gateway Pundit, who I didn't know either. But I found his email address buried on his website. And so I said, hey, I'm going to try to put together a tea party. Would you mind letting people know? Well, Dana had me on the air that night. She agreed to kind of help me get the thing organized, and we decided, well, with the help of some national organizations or some people who were kind of coordinating it in other cities, they wanted to have a bigger impact by having as many as they could all at the same time at the same day. So I said, can you do it at 11 o'clock next Friday, the 27th? And I was like, hell, I don't know what I'm doing anyway. So I called my boss and asked if I could take off Friday, and he said sure. And so said, yeah, why not? Let's do it next Friday. And then I figured, okay, we're going to have 50 people. So that was our goal. Let's get 50 people out there. If we get 100, fantastic. And 1,500 people showed up.
What were you thinking then?
Well, one of the people I asked to speak was Ed Martin. He's now running for Congress in the 3rd District. Didn't know him either. It's just that I either emailed me or sent me a message on Facebook. Not a private message. He just commented on a Facebook post that I put up about it, and said, "Hey, let me know if you need any help." And I had no idea who he was, so he was like the 3rd person who said something. Gina Loudon was the 2nd, I think, and both of them. I said, "Okay, great." Well, found out that both of them had been somehow involved in politics. Ed Martin had been Governor Matt Blunt's chief of staff. Gina Loudon had run for the Republican nomination for the Missouri Senate. So I was like, okay, I need speakers. 2 of these people have volunteered. They've got to be able to talk. They're interested in what we're interested in. Fine, would you mind speaking? So they come down. Which is great testimony to them, because they didn't know who I was. This could have been a disaster. And if you're in politics, you have to be careful about stuff like that. They and Jim Lemke, Missouri State Senator, were the only politicians who jumped in and said, you know what, I believe in this, I'm going to be there. So that that was meant a lot to me, that they would take that risk. And but Ed was standing next to me, and we were looking around. The crowd just kept flooding in, and he said, "Dude, I don't know what you were planning about this thing, but you can't leave it now. They're here because you kind of put the word out, and they're going to be looking for you to stay with it." And I thought, oh my God, because I hadn't even told my wife about the thing until Wednesday or Thursday when she saw me on TV, and I had to, because it kind of got out of control. I wrote a blog post thinking this thing's going to happen in a month, and then a few hours later, it's so yeah, it was an eruption. We had no idea this was going to happen.